Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey guys, Jimmy Graham here on behalf of Able Nation. What is Able Nation? Able Nation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to enhancing safety in schools, churches, and civic groups, specifically protecting children. Well, what is safety? Safety is the state of being protected from harm, danger, risk, or injury, often achieved through preventative measures. So we provide financial assistance to enhance those protective measures for our nation's future, that is, our children. Prayerfully consider going to able-nation.org and making a one-time, or better yet, a recurring donation, because wars need to be funded. God bless each and every one of you. I love you guys, and please, please, please remember, together we can save lives. Okay, so what's my version of the story? I told this at men's group, and then I was asked to share this. Because we don't have the video footage. We have segments of the story, but we don't have me telling the story, and I think it's a good story. So from memory, so I hope I'm right about this, Noah Clayton reached out via the email address on the website, stating that he had been involved. He had witnessed a young lady being assaulted in Midland, Texas at an intersection, and he jumped out to help. He didn't know what to do, but he needed to do something. So he jumps to his feet, jumps out of his truck, yells at the guy. I believe it didn't get physical, but there was a lot of words exchanged. And then he ended up leaving her. I mean, the guy left her. He tried to help. I think he even told me that he gave her his lunch, asked to help further. But it really bothered him because it was the middle of the day and there was a lot of men that didn't help. Like, men did not show up and help him. They just kept driving by. So I love, just in that story, I love the heart of a young man that's like someone should do something, which means he was raised correctly, and that someone should, and that someone's me. But how were they raised? Like, these people are going by as if it's not their business. And a good question that I asked Noah was, when did helping another Christian man or woman, as a Christian, not helping a man or woman, isn't that your business? Like, I think that is my business. I think my business is to take care of one another, to love one another, as said in John. Anyways, that affected him. And then he was going to ask Charlie Kirk. He has actually, maybe he was even scheduled to interview Charlie Kirk, at least targeting that direction. And then Charlie Kirk was killed for the nation, for the world to see, and that affected him as well. So somebody that exemplified that stand boldly for what you believe in, stand boldly for your faith, and actually stand, don't just talk about it, but stand for the truth, was just murdered on TV for everybody to watch for doing exactly that. And that also affected him. So now, now what do you do? Like, is he going to let this kind of steer a different direction? What he ended up calling it, I believe, was masculine passivity in today's society. And that became the title, the theme of his thesis, his senior thesis. So a guy that I know that's part of the security team at that school had trained here. They come up, and this is a cool story about a pastor that just said, hey, enough's enough. We got the cowboy thing going on, as I understand it. With the security team, everybody's guessing, and this isn't a thing you guess at. If you're interested, get in the bus. We're leaving on this date. So they drove out here in a church bus from Midland, Texas to Denver, Colorado, spent a week with us, learned a lot of amazing things, built a foundation within them, and then went home to take that foundation home to protect their community, which is awesome. Happens quite a bit now, with police, with security teams and all that. Come train in Denver, take what you learned, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, and relationally, and now take that back and start protecting your community with an actual plan, with an actual standard. So he was one of those guys. So as that older pastor, Burl Gunter, threw everybody in the bus and brought him up. This was one of the guys that worked at the school, and Jared said, here's a book. It's called The Return of Man. It's about exactly that thing you're pondering. Call Jimmy and perhaps you could interview him. So here's the email. Comes into the business line. He asks for the interview. We jump on Zoom. We do an amazing interview, and I love it. It does my heart good to understand that there are young men and women out there that want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So we discussed that kind of in detail. And then he says that he's going to share it with me once he completed it. And then I'm at home, and I have a daughter that's a senior. She's graduating this year. It's a beautiful thing, but we're getting a lot of those invites. Well, one of these invites has my name on it. I open it, and it's Noah. And I'd never met him before, just on Zoom. And I'm looking at this young man with a guitar and a truck and all this other stuff, Midland, Texas. And right then I'm like, I want to go down there. Like, Lord, talk to me here. And it was overwhelming. Like, go, invest in this young man, get down there. Everything's tight, budgets and all that stuff. So I hit up Able Nation. I said, Able Nation, there's a board. I can't just go do whatever I want. But I said, I'd like to go down there. This is the thing that kind of we talk about, is investing in people. Like, all these places we say, if the problem's people, the solution's people. Right? Obviously the solution's Christ, but he works through us. So if we're going to step out and do that, I really think your money is well spent in your churches, schools, civic groups, government, all that, in finding the right people, find that spark, get a flame and pour gas on it. Like, that's the thing, not widgets, not those locks and those cameras and all that stuff. It's easy to purchase things. People are difficult, but here's the problem. People are the solution. So that really, and as I explained my case, they said, what's the return on investment? I go, you tell me, what is the return on investment in a human being? And being there, like a Navy SEAL walks in the room that obviously you had a good dialogue with, and he walks in, drives to Midland, Texas, walks in the room to say, I see you. I see a thing in you. And not just me, but a group of people raised money, invested in one of our custom knives, and handed it to him at no cost to you. Like, the only response to this is go be you. Like, go be a better version of you, because the world needs solutions. So anyways, that was all approved. I head down, and I don't know how far I am. I guessed it's 7 hours, but I don't know. I'm rolling through the desert country, and I get this ping on my text, and it said, Mr. Graham, tonight is my thesis presentation. Here's a link in case you wanted to watch it. And he doesn't know that I'm on the way to his school right now, like a 10-hour drive. That's with a couple stops, 9.5 hours or whatever, but a total of 10 hours easily. And I just smiled, and I'm like, this is cool that he doesn't know. I had already coordinated with Jared to say, when is it, where is it, all this stuff. It said on the invite, but I just wanted to make sure, like, when's the appropriate time to show up. I want to walk in, I want to shake his hand, I want to look him in the eye. And I don't want to be a burden. I know it's his night and he doesn't know I'm coming. But if it's possible, maybe we could pull off to the side, do a little presentation, and maybe shoot just a quick video of us having a conversation. Jared says, yeah, I think that'd be fine. Let's just show up. And at a minimum, I could talk to Jared and we could capture that if his family's got plans. Just a cool thing when I got there, and me and Jared are walking in, he looks around the corner. He's like, hey, they're doing mic checks, and I go get ready. And then as I walk in, it was suit jacket, got my little Navy SEAL Trident, what is it called, lapel pin on, and all that kind of stuff. And I walk in, and he's just doing his thing and talking to everybody, but then he lights up. He's like, you're here! And we shake hands, get a hug. And then he kind of just goes over, gets into character, and just nails it and gives a great presentation. Looking people in there was humor in it. There was a clear call to older men to stand and be an example. There was a clear statement that he's the guy that's going to step forward and not do his best to not be part of the problem that everybody complains about, but get out of his chair, find his feet, and be part of the solution to the best of his ability. And then they're bombarded. Then he gets questions fired at him from the faculty. And that was very, very cool, because I think he handled it very well. One of the funny things that got a laugh out of everybody was, I guess he drives a big old lifted truck. Do you need a big truck to be a man? Is that required? And he says, it helps. It's such a great answer, and a very serious topic. And I don't believe I was the only adult man that felt a little call, like, hey, we need you. We need you to stand, and we need you to show us how to do this, because we're ready. Like, the younger generation is ready. So then we got some pictures. The family, it quickly spread that, he says, hey, I interviewed Jimmy Graham, Navy SEAL, CIA bodyguard, all these things. And his family and all that quickly found out, like, hey, that's Jimmy right there. He's sitting right there. So then they invited me, the parents, great job raising their kid, by the way, invited me to come out to dinner with them. And we went into a side room, an admin room in the school, presented this custom knife collaboration between two Navy SEALs, Andrew Arabito, of half-face blades, and I designed it. He brought it to life, and it's a work of art. I think it's the best knife on the planet, but I'm a little partial. Everybody thinks their baby's cute. But blown away. I mean, this isn't cheap. It's an heirloom gift is what we call it. It's a forever thing you'll hand to your kids and to their grandkids kind of thing. And we just simply said, we see you. We believe in you, and you're worth it. And then we went out to dinner. Before we shared the meal, we ordered up food, went off into a booth, shot a quick, discussion saying as much, talking about all of this, and then put it together with, we plan to put on the podcast, we plan to put together the actual interview, because I think there's a lot to be said for younger men speaking to older men, as it should be, of saying, hey, not only here's the way to do it, here's the way I did it. Here's the successes, here's the failures, here's the things I would have done differently. And I think a lot of people right now are learning off YouTube, and that's unfortunate, right? There are so many, and I was here, it's funny. Just on Saturday, I was invited here locally to a bonfire called Pure Heart Bonfire, and they had a simple question. Where are the men? Like, these are young men that want to get after it. They're gritty. They don't want their grandparents' definition of ministry where it's, khaki pants, a button-up shirt on Wednesdays and Sundays, right? And so when you tell them that everything you do is ministry, and the things in your heart that make you come alive, you were built that way. Like, God made you to come alive in ministry. And if your ministry isn't exciting, challenging, and dangerous, you're probably doing it wrong, right? So go live out your ministry. And if you only studying and preaching this book, if all you do is study it and preach it, you're only getting half of it, right? You have to live it to get the other half. To get the full Bible, you must live it. You must risk, you must go out and walk with God. You must have a relationship, not an understanding, a relationship with the living God, and ask questions and then listen. And then when he says go, you go immediately. And then when branch breaks and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, this was a failure. But then wisdom is proven over time. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, that wasn't a failure. I had to do that. It was a price of admission to get towards successful, and success wasn't money. Success was something way bigger than money. So this is amazing. I tell my kids, if money's all you want, it may be all you get. So who's telling them that? And they're like, we want to do this, but shouldn't there be success leaves clues? Where are the clues? Where are the dudes that are doing this correctly, right? And I told them they're here, they're out there, but it's unfortunate you have to look. It's unfortunate you even have to ask. So let's put out a question, and I'll put this out to the guys. And a bunch of guys came out to this bonfire on Saturday, but that was the same thing. It was good to see in Midland, Texas, and in Kansas City, Missouri, in Pennsylvania, in Maine and Montana. The same thing is happening as people are saying, I'm ready to step. I'm just not sure where to put my foot. It'd be great. I don't want to read a book about it per se. Books are great, but I'd rather watch a dude do it. I'd rather a guy shoulder to shoulder walk with me, a guy that's done it before. And then, until I can walk on my own, and then I'm going to blast through walls on my own. But it'd be great to have somebody show me how to do this, right? Hands-on men want that. Show me how to do it, and then step back and then watch me go. I'm going to mess up at first, and then the mistakes are going to make me better, and then I'm going to be really good at this, as I was designed to be by the living God. So, unbelievable. I had 10 hours to ponder that on the way back. I don't travel as well as I used to, so I did have to pull over. I did a couple of touch and goes, and I'm like, man, I can pull up right now, and racked out for I think an hour and a half. So I got home a little bit later the next day. But one of the things that I wrote him a letter, and I put it in with a knife, and I had some things. The very first thing at the top was take time to think. Like, take time to think. So I love when I do something like that. If I've got a plane ride back from Pennsylvania, if I've got to drive back from Midland, Texas, I love when something significant like that is addressed, that I have ample time to process it, to make me better and apply it to my life. Not going Sunday to Sunday to Sunday saying, entertain me, preacher, entertain me, preacher, entertain me, preacher. No, go spend time with God so that you are worthy of being my coach on Sunday. And when I go into the ring, that's going to be my fight, and you can't go with me, right? You got your own fights. So I'm going to go and do this. So to have so many people to continue to have older men, called it the graybeards, the graybeard Christians being worthy of pouring into these young men so they can go fight their battles. And then when they come back to the corner, we're going to give them advice. We're going to tell them, keep your hands up, bob and weave, do all the stuff, cut me Mick, all that stuff. But it's not our fight, it's their fight, right? We're not demanding enough from our young people. And if we did, I believe they would show up, right? But to be worthy of that, we got to live it ourselves. Don't talk at them. Don't tell them what they should be doing. Show them. Say, I'm going, you're invited. And I believe that's the future. And it was amazing. Just that my heart was full driving back from Midland, Texas to Denver, Colorado, icing on the cake as I come back into my home and see my amazing young people that are chomping at the bit as well. So what an absolute blessing. Thank you, Able Nation, for investing in people. I don't mind driving 10 hours either way. It gives me time to think, to develop the words, to process the experience and all that. So I consider it an honor to be able to do that. Thank you for picking up the gas money. Thank you for paying for the hotel. Oh, actually, it was donated. Thank you, Andy and Andy. Thank you to Amanda and Danny. because they said, hey, you know what? We got your hotel room. We got some miles and all that stuff. They worked it out. I was smoked. I walk in that night, beautiful hotel, boom, boom. Hey, Mr. Graham, whatever, out you go to get back on the road and then head towards home. So thank you guys so much. Please, everybody, literally from my heart, prayerfully consider supporting Able Nation, able-nation.org. We're doing good things to protect children, to strengthen the future. And I believe the best investment of any of these dollars entrusted to us is to people. It's investing in people. Sure, we do security stuff and tourniquets and medical and training and all that, but investment in people, because it's ours to plant, it's his to grow. So investing in a human being by walking in the room and saying, I see you, I don't know where that's going to go. It's actually none of my business. But when you're called to do something, you feel it in your heart and you're called by God, the time to respond is right now. So thank you for the experience. God bless you guys. Love you all. Take care of one another.
Well, yeah, thank you for doing this. First of all, I just wanted to kind of go off of my email that I sent. So I told you that I kind of felt led by God to have my oral presentation on this topic because I had an encounter on the side of a road with, it was domestic violence. So I was coming home from lunch. I was just driving just like normal. And I look over and I see a car pulled over and it just caught my attention. So I looked over and I saw a lady get out of her passenger door and walk to the side of the road. And a man got out of the driver's seat, ran around the front of the car and tackled her to the ground and just started beating her. Wow. And so it was like a decently busy road. It wasn't anything crazy, just a neighborhood road. So I pull over, I get out and I just yell at him. I'm like, hey, what are y'all doing? Get off her, whatever. And he just kind of looks at me, and that was enough. Thankfully, he just got up and kind of went back. And it was a weird situation. It seemed like she had something of his that he was trying to get back. It was odd, but he gets in his car. She gets back in the car, and I just kind of stayed there for 15, 20 minutes and watched and just made sure everything was okay. And it actually, reading your book, I just got it last week from one of my teachers, Jared Nelson. I think you trained him and a lot of my tutors, but I got the book from him and it reminded me of something you brought up in chapter 10, I think. You had an encounter with a man and his wife or something like that in a parking lot. Yeah. And yeah, but anyway, she gets back in and then she gets out and he leaves her, just leaves her on the road. And so I say, hey, I didn't know if maybe they had both done something wrong. And so I didn't want to say hey, I called the cops or whatever, something like that, so that she would get scared too. So I gave her my phone number and I gave her my lunch. And I was like, just give me a call if you need anything. And I did file a police report later on, but I didn't tell her about that. But so yeah, that's kind of that. And I'm doing it on, so yeah, I'm using passivity. But what I realized during that whole encounter was how many cars drove by. It was an obvious, something was obviously going on, something was wrong. And so many people just drove by and turned the other cheek, just it didn't matter to them. It didn't affect them, so why should they care about it? And I mean, I live in Texas. A majority of us are Christians. I assume someone there was a Christian. And I think it's very important for Christians to know when to speak up and know when to stay quiet. And I think you do a great job of that. And someone who I thought did an amazing job of that was Charlie Kirk. And I was so excited to interview him, but the Lord called him home too. So
that's right.
But yeah, so that's that. I just wanted to define passivity so that we have something to refer to.
Can I jump in real quick, brother?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, sir.
So good job.
Thank you.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
We don't say that enough to our people, both young and old, but all those other people, you're not in charge of them, you're in charge of you, and you stood, right? And yes, if you would have pulled over and just got the snot kicked out of you, there's honor in getting beat up. There's no honor in not standing, right?
Yes,
so you need to hear that, because it just gives me hope. And I'm just so glad, because I was going to ask you, I'm like, how did a guy from Midland? And the thing that popped into my head from Midland was, does the name Verl Gunter mean anything to you?
Bro Gunter. It doesn't ring a bell, no, sir.
So he was a pastor, and I'm guessing that's probably where, what was the name of your teacher, I think, that gave you the book?
Jared Nelson.
Jared. Okay. I think Jared might have been part of that group. I'm not sure. But Verl Gunter in Midland, Texas, had his team, had a bunch of problems with the team, and he said, everybody get in the van. And they drove here and they trained and they went back to Midland, Texas. So I'm guessing there's some kind of tie-in with that.
That's awesome. I would assume so. Our school's very different. We have a bunch of tutors, like big time, like into the military stuff. And so a majority of them, not a majority, but quite a few of them have been trained by you. And so they
That's
all told,
fantastic.
when Charlie passed away, they all told me, interview him. And I was like, okay, I read your book.
That makes my heart feel good, man. And that's, so that's awesome I mean, what an honor that a book that God directed me to lead got into your hands. That just makes me smile, right? Because I got a 17-year-old, I got a 15-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So that's a big deal. That's actually, validation and why God had me write that book. But yeah, I wanted to make that clear because it gives me hope for the future, because I know so many people that would not have stopped. They say they would have.
Yeah.
And you're like, it had to be Christians. I bet all of them are Christians if you asked them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Christian thing is a hard thing. And I think that once people realize, and you've read the books, you know this, that your life is meant to be an action adventure, and you went on a little adventure that night and you could have been harmed, which kind of makes it even cooler. Right.
Yes, sir.
So good job. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. One thing, this isn't part of it, but whenever you said I could have been harmed, I actually thought about that and I put it into my presentation. We study Greek at our school.
Yeah, good. It's classical school? Is it classical academy?
Yes, sir. Classical school.
I love it.
So I read a book from Jack Hibbs, which was one of Charlie's friends and was a pastor.
I love Jack Hibbs.
Yeah, me too. He's awesome. I read his book and it started talking about, obviously our greatest commandments are to love God, love others. In that situation, many of my mom's friends and all these people, oh no, why would he do that? He could have gotten hurt, all this stuff. It's, when it says love God, love others, it actually uses the Greek love agape, which is unconditional sacrificial love. And so I think God makes it very clear that we should be ready and willing to lay down our lives for anyone. And so I think that's something that's really stuck with me from that too.
Yeah. Amen. There's a guy. So I can't remember why I want to add this, because I think that you're going to gravitate towards it and maybe hang on to it. Is that there was a pastor in a pastor's message. I think it was Leif Hetland. I can't remember, but he was talking about a guy that was deathly afraid of dogs. Deathly, like God's weird around him. Mm-hmm. And a dog went to, if I remember correctly, a dog went to bite his son, and he grabbed the dog and threw it. And mm-hmm. They said, I thought you were afraid of dogs. And he says, my love for my son is stronger than my fear for the dog. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's basically what you said in different words. It's like, yeah, I am afraid. There is a healthy fear of getting harmed, but I love this stranger more. There's so much to that. You could unpack that for a week.
Yes, sir. That's great. Thank you for that.
Good for you. Yeah.
So just kind of diving into the questions I have, or actually I was going to define passivity real quick. So just a general definition is the acceptance of what happens without active response or resistance, just so we can refer back to that. Then I was going to ask you, how would you define boldness or assertiveness for a Christian male today?
That's a good question. So a boldness or assertiveness, I think that is, it must be spirit-led, because I'm talking through a bunch of other stuff, including my men's group this morning. It's like that boldness, just an example in me as I'm going through this counseling, I'm talking to these guys and something wasn't right. And I love these people. They're invested in us. They're talking to us. They're giving their own time, in relationships, but something wasn't right. So I'm like, oh man, I have to say this out loud. So to boldly say, well, here, let me put a visual to this. Have you seen The Chosen?
I've seen parts of it. Some of them.
Have you seen the beginning where the fish are swimming?
Yes. And that one goes.
One turns around, right? I don't think we put enough value on how hard it is to be that one fish. When you turn around against the stream, they say even a dead thing will flow downstream, but it takes effort to flow upstream, right? So to go against the grain, to follow God and say, you put something on my heart and it seems right. And everything in me, including this, like not everything in me, the whole world is saying, this is the way to go. Something's not right. That's something that has to be nurtured for the rest of your life. So to be bold and say, listen, guys, I know everybody in this room may disagree with me. I'm doing this, right? And I've seen it in my kids. I've seen it in very little in politicians, but I've seen it in people like you. Like, it doesn't make sense to jump out, and address this thing, but you're like, something in me. And I don't know, if we had a bunch of time, and maybe if we do, I'd ask you about your dad. Where do you think that came from? Is your folks, I'm guessing, my bet would be your parents.
Yes, sir, for sure. My dad is definitely someone who is led by faith, and that's not something you see in this world. And he teaches me to be bold and fills me with people like Charlie too, like showing me these people and giving me examples of how to be. So yeah.
Yeah, amen. And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of teenagers, they won't say it unless they're scared. And I've seen it in my family. I've seen it in me, to where I was just talking to a gentleman and his son, they're estranged, and they were talking back and forth about this and that. I hear him talk about his dad and all that other stuff. But then I saw him scared. I saw him with the police on the side of the road, and he was scared. And guess what he was talking about? His dad. Like his dad that taught him better, and he should know better and all that, because he was scared. So there's this facade of tough guy, cool guy. But when you're scared, you're looking for the truth, right? You're like reaching back for something else. So yeah, I may consider telling your dad that. I think as a dad, I would love to hear that. Like, what gave me the courage to get out of my car and talk about that was you. And if you ever want to watch a grown man melt into mush, man, your words as a son, my kids' words weigh much more than anybody else I meet. What they say about me matters. It's not because I'm tough guy, Navy SEAL, CIA, own this business and all that stuff. It's like, no, man, these are my kids, man. This is my line, the lineage thing. Legacy is all big words, but I really do care what they say. And if it's bad, it cuts deeper. And if it's good, man, it tells me to keep going.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sorry, back to your question. To be bold and be assertive, if it's not spirit led, and there's a saying I can't remember, it's like something about like truth without love is legalism, and love without truth is something, but that's the right thread. So talking about this is the right thing to do. I think it's fair to define right. What does right mean? Right means righteous, meaning right by God. Is it right by Jimmy? Or is it right by God? And if it's right by God and you stand every single time, and don't worry if you mess up, it's just practice for next time, right? But if you do get better at 52 years old, pretty quick to stand, because I've learned it's better than not to, right?
Yes, sir.
And I didn't even know that was bold until I started watching and saw that no one else will stand. And now all of a sudden my phone rings a bunch, and they're like, hey, will you come talk at this? Will you do this? Will you do that? I'm like, why don't you ask that dude? Because he won't do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yes, I guess, so that leaves a legacy. And I don't want to leave a legacy of Jimmy Graham. I want to leave a legacy of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Like, that was a dude that did his best to not be a light per se, but be a mirror to reflect the light of Jesus Christ. And it felt a little dangerous. It wasn't boring. It wasn't Wednesdays and Sundays. It was every single thing he did. He used all Jesus Christ. That's a good legacy.
Mm-hmm. So with that definition that you gave in mind, would you say, this is kind of just like very specific, but in the Garden of Eden, when Adam allowed Eve to sin, do you think that he actually caused the fall?
I don't. I think that's where grace comes in. I think that, do I think he caused the fall? As a married man with a family, there's a lot of responsibility to put on. There's this individual thing, and I'm going to go pretty deep, and you might get an F just because of this. No, if you're at a Christian school, you won't. A lot of people, they inappropriately believe that their first duty is to their wife, right? Mm-hmm. Their first duty is to their God, period. Mm-hmm. Period, right? To submit, to come under God's mission. And the wife, equal. They're equal to you, but their job, they're equal in worth, but different in station, right? Her job is to come up and submit to your mission, right? But she didn't want that. So she basically listened to Satan and said, you know what? I want to be the one. Like, I want to be the top dog here, not my husband, and not even God, because it says right there, God told them exactly what to do. And then Satan told her, and she chose Satan over God. And due to free will, she can. Like, and even nowadays, it's like, what was I supposed to beat her into submission and not have her eat? But he just stood there trying to process. By the way, between me and you, women are hot. They're made hot. They're beautiful. Like, the beauty of a woman is a big deal. It's a huge thing to honor. It was such a beautiful thing. Even the angels came down and took wives, right? And he's like, knock it off. I know I made him beautiful, but that's not why I did it, right? So there's a strength in that, to where if a woman can be an amazingly strong woman, and I can't even touch that, right? But if she tries to be an ugly man, she's out of place, right? So having her in charge, I think free will says she can do whatever she wants. But when he also bit, okay, I built it to where you come under my mission, she comes under yours. You sat there and watched her try to supersede me, and then you followed her. From now on, everything's going to be hard.
Yes, sir. So do you think Adam's lack of leadership could have been the reason why she tried to go up there, or was it her submitting to sin?
I think, just when by the grace of God, you're gonna get a little bit older and you're gonna find a woman, and you're gonna do that. You could run everything perfectly. Not that I have run it perfectly, and she's still accountable for her.
Right.
She could still bite the apple, but when she offers it to you, it's your job to say no. And not like, hey, eat this or things are going to be weird in the bedroom. Eat this or I'm no longer going to do your laundry. Eat this or whatever. You're like, so be it. So be it. Because my first job is to God. You're not doing it to her. You're doing it for her, because what she wants is a leader. And even when she veers off of there and veers off the path and does something foolish, you still need to lead. And he didn't. And he did it, and we're all paying for it.
Yes, sir. So what specific things do you think that men should focus on in order to stay bold?
So I'm sorry, I just had a flashback from the last question. I would just say this, and this is an interesting point too. I asked AI, I knew the answer, but I asked AI, what are the first words that Satan said to Eve? And it wouldn't answer me. It said he didn't really talk to Eve. It talked to kind of both of them. And I go, no, what's the first words? And they're like, it wouldn't answer. And finally I said, why aren't you telling me that the first words that God said to Eve are, what is this that you have done? Not both y'all. What he said to the woman, what is this that you have done? Right? So just be careful. That goes to your question. What do you focus on? You focus on the word of God. So if that's a map for the world, and guys say that all the time, and then they just commence to not doing it, it means know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And if you're free, then you can experience peace. Okay, well, what's the truth? Well, the truth is the word of God, and actually it is God. One of my favorite sections in the Bible is when Jesus is with Pontius Pilate, and he says, for this reason I was born, and for this reason I came to the earth. Think about it. That's a really good statement. You're like, wait a minute. Why is Jesus here? Oh, to save our soul. I get it. All those are correct. But he specifically, Jesus, the creator of the universe, God became man, said, this is why I was born. And this is why I came to you guys, to testify to the truth. Right. And they killed him. Right. Charlie Kirk, to testify to the truth, and they killed him, right? We know that's the solution. That's why they can't stand it. That's why they've got to murder people who are dedicated to the truth, right? Yeah. But if you don't know the truth, if you don't know your Bible, it can't set you free. And that's all day, every day. So when you say, I heard somebody say, we're not against drag, we're just against bad drag. We're good. We're okay with good drag. And I said, define good drag, because good, the root word of good equals godly, and right equals right. So there's no such thing as godly drag, right? I just want to do what's right. Oh, you want to do what's righteous? No, that's not what I meant. Well, that's what the word means. So what did you mean? Well, I don't know what it means. Well, then let's go with my definition. Let's do what's righteous, right? And you can talk like that if words mean something again. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to choose my words carefully, and I'm going to not repeat lies. So if you're truly focused, if you look at Jordan Peterson, regardless of what Christians say about him, I think he's a gift to the world because he's so deliberate. He's so he takes everything literal. And I don't know a great man that doesn't take it literal. Not kinda. Integrity means a steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code. It doesn't mean all in kind. It means steadfast and strict to the word of God, in this case, the word of God, right? So if that's the case, like in my morning group today, somebody said, and I know him and I love him and I kind of agree. He goes, we need more little old ladies. You know that lady that says, watch your language because there's a lady here. I'm like, biblically, we need more little old men. Why are the ladies the only one doing it? Why are the ladies running the men's ministry? Why are the ladies running every ministry, right? Because the men aren't. So biblically, it doesn't ever say we need a bunch of little old ladies. You know what we need women doing? Mentoring women. We need older women mentoring younger women by design, because I don't know what it's like to be a woman. So for me to tell my girls what it's like to be a woman would be me guessing. But they're mothers for that. You know, their grandmothers there to help mom, and so on and so forth. So I think, just dedicated to the word of God. And then again, boldly speak it and stop asking permission.
Right. Yes, sir. Do you think that, I think we've all kind of seen like a lack of leadership within men. And I mean, that's, do you think that this isn't part of it, but just, do you think that that is responsible for the rise of feminism, and that feminists believe that they need to step into that role because there's poor leadership everywhere? So Because that's what
I do. I think partially it's because the men didn't stand, and partially because what Satan says in the Garden of Eden, what is this you have done? Because of this, you're going to desire your husband. It doesn't mean like in the bedroom. It means you're going to want to be him. You're going to want to be in charge. You're going to try to supersede him for the rest of your days. Right? Cue feminism. It's just not God's way. So you can try to do it that way. It's just not God's way. And people are like, well, we've been doing it for years. Right. And look at things. Look how bad this is actually, right? When you say, well, and this is, I've been accused of this whole calling people Jezebels, but if you look to Mark Driscoll or Millie Cedra or Josh Howerton, which I love all three of them, right? They talk about a Jezebel spirit. And what does that mean? It means a spirit that says, I want to be in charge. I don't even want to be married. I want to be number one. I want to be this person. And by the way, the man is always wrong. So if there's something wrong with me, it's because of him. Not necessarily true. You know, it's like we all own our part, but there's two halves of that Bible. And it's like, hey, some of these verses say things about what is your job as a Christian woman, right? I know that you've got the ones memorized about me as a Christian man, but have you ever tried doing it God's way? Because me doing it, like if you did it perfectly, that's not enough to do your wife's part. Do your part and then some. It's not 50-50. The man is called to do more, but she has to do something.
Right. Yes, sir. So, with Able Shepherd, you train men to be household defenders and protectors. Do you think that it is necessary for a man to be able to protect his home in a physical sense in order to be assertive and bold?
That's a great question. And no, I don't. Meaning this, physical. Well, here's the order: spiritual, mental, physical. The thing with men is that once you tap into physical and you get them into shooting guns or jujitsu or, fill in the blank, Muay Thai or boxing or something like that, something physically gives them the courage to become stronger mentally and then even go into the harder. Some people, it's hard to grasp spiritual, right? So I didn't plan on it that way. It's just the way it worked, right? But here's the level of, so the way that I unlocked this with Able Shepherd was physical to mental to spiritual. But that's not the order of importance. It's spiritual, then mental, and lastly, physical. It's very unlikely you're ever going to have to shoot anybody in your life, and praise God for that, right? But you will be in a spiritual battle this day. Before you go to bed tonight, there will be a spiritual choice to make. Mentally, if I can convince young people, if I can exploit young people and make them weak, they'll kill themselves, right? So we have to be mentally strong, but make no mistake, like as a man, it is your job to protect women. It is your job to protect your children, right? Yeah. So now when you say, is it mandatory? I would say there are people that could potentially be in wheelchairs. And for a man, that's such I'm worthless, a stop. No, you have more capacity spiritually and mentally because you don't have physical, right? So that can't be a restriction because God doesn't make mistakes. And just because you don't have legs, all this other stuff, all of these things say then I'm going to develop those other things more, right? As a man, I'm going the other way. My son's coming up in capability. At 52, I'm actually going down. Like I'm not physically with CrossFit and all this stuff that I used to be into, I was more physically capable when I was the peak was probably about 30 something year old SEAL, right? Pretty capable, right? As you get older, that diminishes and it doesn't feel good, but you know what feels good is my son's on his way up, right? So as my physical starts to decrease, my spiritual and then my mental state increases. It must.
That's great. Thank you. So within chapter 7 of your book, The Return of the Man, you talk about how your program has changed people in many areas of their life. And I think you kind of just touched on that, how you can help someone with their physical and it can translate to their mental. Do you think that your program can transform men and women from passive to active? And if this has taken place, could you tell me of an instance that it did?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. Yes, we have female Able Shepherds. It just happens to be that like 90% or whatever it's men. I say, men, I'm going, you're invited. And I say, we're focused on men, and ladies, you're invited. So they can come. It's just most of the time it's men. Having people that perhaps didn't have an option. Like they didn't, dad wasn't a good option. Grandpa was worse. All their buddies, whatever, they're a firefighter, they're a cop. It doesn't matter what they are, but everything's harsh. And then they walk in the door and they see that, the first time an F-bomb comes out, I say, can you watch your language, please? I'm not a jerk about it, but I just ask them. It's like, hey, there's kind of
There's SOPs here. There's a standard operating procedure. It just means this is the norm. And they're like, oh, right. And then later they say, you know what? And I've had this happen by a grown man in his probably 50s. He goes, my mom loves you. Like, I've never met your mom. I know, but you got me to stop cussing. I go, I didn't get you to do anything. You chose to stop cussing. I just said, you can't do it here. But when they started doing it here, and I said, well, if you look left and right before you cuss, that's actually kind of cowardly. If you're going to cuss, cuss. I mean, church, wherever you go until they kick you out, just be you. But why are you looking over your shoulder, right? If you're looking over your shoulder, that implies that maybe it's bad, right? And you want to look at the right company. Like, you change who you are depending on if you're in the locker room. That's actually weakness. But now you harmed your own credibility, and I'm not sure who I'm talking to. Am I talking to this Noah or this Noah? It's like, okay, if I'm talking to you, why don't you just let your yes be yes, your no be no, and be you? Because character builds credibility, and that leaves a legacy. So if you're a man of character, you build credibility, meaning people trust you. Trust is not small. Don't ever lose it. Keep it as best you can. And now when you die, it's not, again, a legacy of Jimmy Graham. It's a legacy of Jesus Christ that's shown through in this dude named Jimmy Graham.
Yes, sir.
And it protects you from pride. I don't
Yes,
try
sir.
to build a Jimmy legacy. Like, Jimmy this, Jimmy that. It's like, no, I just try to do what's best because it's the right thing to do, and that leaves a legacy.
Yes, sir. So we've kind of talked briefly on women, but how would you say that being assertive would differ for a woman? And I know, like, you're not a woman, so of course we're both just guessing at this, but just what's your best interpretation of that?
Meaning, if I'm talking to a woman about her being assertive?
Yeah, just
or being assertive toward a woman, or a woman being assertive?
Woman being assertive.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's much different, except, again, spirit-led. And it's not like, know your place, woman. It's not that. It just means I see a lot of women that are trying to present as a man. Like, if a woman presents as a woman, I don't stand a chance. Like, if she's a strong Christian woman that knows her Bible and she's using all that is, man, all of a sudden it's a level playing field. Now we're in an actual conversation. But if she's pretending to be a tough guy, it's false. So now her credibility goes down, right? The Christian women that I've seen that know who they are and whose they are, it's impressive. It's impressive as a woman, right? The thing that is beautiful about a woman is very, very powerful. That's why it's under attack, right? That what is a woman? The thing about being a woman is absolutely under attack. Men are trying to steal their beauty. They're trying to lord over a man's strength. It's called identity. Like, I'm a woman, now I'm going to go beat you in swimming or boxing. It's kind of, right? But I see a lot of women trying to be an ugly man when they could be a beautiful woman, and that's unfortunate.
Right. Yes, sir. So I'm sure you've learned all this from, like, mentors and other people in your life. So would you be willing to tell me a brief story of someone in your military or CIA background that really displayed assertiveness and boldness?
Yeah, a guy named Mike Vernick, and he's not active anymore, so I think I can say his name, or I wouldn't have said it. He wasn't a special operations guy as much as I can remember. He was an intelligence guy. And imagine being that guy, not a really big guy, fit guy, but not a really big guy when you're working with a bunch of big Navy SEAL types, right? And I just remember, I'll never forget this, and it really made me think about who I was a man and how I presented. I don't think I was a foul mouth, but there were dudes. And for him to just be like, guys, not necessary. What's the big deal? I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, it's not necessary. And if you must talk like that, you'll find another job. And I was kind of like, wow, man, that took some salt for him to throw that out there to these guys. And it was just him being him, So as far as a leader, when I think back, he's the first guy that popped into my head, because he was a very dangerous guy. He was a capable man. He had status, meaning rank. He had respect. He had all the skills we had as far as capability, but he was also decent. And it started a journey for me. And I was like, wow. So that's, and the coolest part about it is that when I told him I looked at him as a mentor, he's like, what? Like, I was looking at you for certain things. And I'm like, he was just being him, which is the best part. You know what I mean? So to have the courage to say, this is me, not asking permission, do what you will. I was watching. Everybody was watching. And guess what? The language cleaned up. And all of a sudden we were known as professionals. And when we came in, people noticed. And when I became the team lead in Benghazi, the reason they picked me over everybody else, because I had credibility. Why? Because I was part of the TDC, the tactical development team, the tactical development course, and GRS was the team, the global response staff. I'm sorry, global response staff is a big team. The TDC is the course, Tactical Development Course, but the people who taught that was called the SPT, the Special Projects Team. And that was a very highly regarded, very elite team because of that dude and others, right? He would be like, oh, shucks, not me. It's like, no, because of you. That's why it became what it was at its peak, because of that dude.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Let's see. So as stated before, I really admire Charlie Kirk and his views. And he was very adamant on creating great men and leaders now by changing these. And you actually also did say this before, but I assume you believe this to be true. And how should we go about that change by pouring into the youth and changing leaders from there?
Man, you get some good questions, brother. I love it. I love it because I live this stuff. It's so there was a quote that you're going to love, and I think it was in the book, and it's by Frederick Douglass, and it changed my life. It is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men, right? It's not easy, but it's easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men after a lifetime of mistakes and shame, right? Mm-hmm. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, this is easier. It's better to do it while they're young, but we can't cut people off while they're old. So if all we're doing is trying to fix broken men, we're just going to chase our tail. We've got to do both simultaneously. So I've dedicated my life to repairing broken men, including this guy, becoming stronger so that there's something to model for younger men, right? So that Noah can be a stronger man because he saw an option, and his name was Jimmy Graham, and his name was Charlie Kirk. By the way, what an honor to be number 2 to Charlie Kirk, right? I love that dude, and I'm very glad I get to talk to you, and that's an honor. I was actually listed as a Christian leader in the nation. After Charlie Kirk was murdered, they listed Christian leaders respond with Jack Hibbs. It was Jack Hibbs, Jimmy Graham. I'm like, hey, check it out, man. I think all of us are just guys trying to make it from breakfast to dinner, but when you look to people that are a spiritual leader and you get listed with them, man, what an honor, right? Follow us while we follow Christ, not just me, right? So, sorry, I want to attend a little bit, but how are young, every one of us are teachers and leaders, and some of us are protectors. So I'd say a teacher of what? Right, not wrong. Leader to where? Heaven, not hell. Protector from what? Destruction. Spiritual, mental, physical destruction. Like, I want to protect my kids' eternity. I want to protect their brain, and I want to protect their body, right? That's exactly what we're up against. And if men aren't going to stand to do that, then who are you going to emulate? You're going to be like, I see a bunch of preachers that preach the word, but I don't see pastors, because pastors are shepherds. They're teachers, leaders, and protectors. Like, so everybody's talking about God, but nobody's doing it. And I say, if you're not living the Bible, you only get half the Bible. You can just read the Bible and preach it the rest of your life, make a bunch of money and have your name in lights, and drive the best cars and live in the best neighborhoods and have influence over a town. But if you're not living, real men are going, something's wrong. Something's off. The guy doesn't have credibility, right? Yes. But if young people get to see somebody who's genuine, not perfect, genuine. You're like, hey, man, I don't know, but I see this guy named Tom. That dude is genuine. And I know he's not perfect, but I want to be like Tom. And Tom was a good steward of that, right? He was a good shepherd for Christ.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, that makes sense. So this kind of goes into something else, but in your book, you bring up the Uvalde shooting and the incredibly long 77-minute police response time. You said that the officers involved could have done what they did in the last 30 seconds in the first 30 seconds. Do you think that is a event of passiveness? And if so, do you think that is an event of passiveness that we could all learn from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that was the chapter called Feed the Front. Feed the Front means, when you stopped your car, if I understand it correctly, when you stopped your car and got out and walked forward, you fed the front, right? And opposite would be sitting in your car and say somebody should do something, or keep driving, right? I see the problem for somebody else, and you just keep driving. So everybody that drove by, that wasn't even, it was like not even feed the rear. It was like, it was just, I'm out, right? So when we talk about being a protector or a predator or a pretender, those pretenders keep driving and saying, oh, I think that young man had it under control. I think somebody else had it. I think whatever, that's a pretender, man. They're like, and they're going to get home and be like, yeah, man, I would have stopped and I would have kicked that guy's butt and all that stuff. It's like, man, your credibility is skyrocketing forward, right? It's heading to the floor. And you wonder why men don't look at you like a man, right? You're just pretending through your whole life. And it hurts now to know that at one point I was a predator. Like, I was dating and I was doing all this stuff and I wasn't respecting women in my SEAL team days and all that stuff. I didn't necessarily know I was doing anything wrong. I'm like, everybody's doing it, but that hurts now, but that guy's no longer, right? So that guy's dead. This new guy's a protector aspiring to make everybody he meets better. So I can't dwell in the past, but I understand it. I remember it. And I know how close of a razor's edge that is. Just start making better decisions. Again, how do you know the truth? If you don't know the truth can't set you free. So I do spend a lot of time on my Bible. I do spend a lot of time around mentors and men that love me enough to tell me the truth. A lot of guys will tell me what I want to hear. And I appreciate it. I actually don't. But I cherish the guys that tell me what I need to hear. Like, Jimmy, you're not going to like this, but I just saw something in you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on that. And I appreciate you. They're invaluable.
Yes, sir. So how would you say that assertiveness might apply to the T360 concept?
Oh man, it's integrated, right? If it's the T360 concept, I'll just kind of synopsis. It means together 360 degrees, right? Mm. So if you're not assertive, if any one of those people aren't assertive, what you're doing is let's say a little girl, you surround a little girl, that's together 360 degrees. We're all together, close in, and nobody 360 degrees can touch her, right? But if one person is not assertive enough, you break down the perimeter and then somebody's in there. You're like, she's the entire objective. We're here to rescue her. Why did she get hurt? Well, because Jimmy didn't bring it. You failed in assertiveness. They shot her and stabbed me in the back. What happened, man? Just my physical presence is supposed to say, to get to her, you got to go through me. What about the guy on the right flank? To get to her, you got to go through me. What about the guy at 6 to get to her? What about the guy on the 9 o'clock? To get to her, you got to go through me. In doing so, you protect each other. It just means, can you hold the line? And what 360 also implies is every area of our lives. So do you got my back and I got yours? And if something happens to you, how about we pull you inside the circle because you're down? Maybe it's you lose your job, you break your leg, whatever. How about we pull you in and another dude stands in and fills that, that stand in the gap. Let's fill that breach while we bring Noah back up to strength. And then when you step back up, maybe somebody needs a break, right? So there's a lot going on there.
So what is an instance in your life where someone being passive has affected you or someone else that you watched?
Somebody was passive in my personal life, not like Uvalde.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to take a minute on that one. Somebody was passive and they didn't address something. I'm sure there's something. This is just, I don't know that this was passive, but last week I was at the Capitol and I was testifying, and well, you don't have to use this, but this just popped into my mind because I'm trying to think of, there's been times obviously, and I can't really think of in my personal life one that doesn't come to mind, but the wish I would have done better. This guy is up there testifying and I'm off to the side, not too far. He's right there and he just starts losing it. He starts slamming on the desk and dropping F-bombs and doing all this stuff. So I think it's kind of funny actually, because I don't believe he's armed because we all went through the detector and he's not hitting anybody. And I'm just reading him and I turn totally sideways and I get my feet under me. Like obviously if you're going to launch out of your chair, get your feet under you. And I get on the edge of my seat and I'm just watching him and I'm calculating in my head. They're totally terrified. The bailiff comes over and he goes, "Sir, I'm going to ask you to sit down." And the guy goes, "F you, don't touch me." And then the bailiff goes, "Okay." And the bailiff leaves. So now the guy he could jump up and just start stabbing these people with an ink pen. And I'm thinking about, I'm going to just intersect and grab the dude, right? I'm going to knock him out. But I have plenty of time. It's not really that violent, but just what ifs. And I'm watching everybody and nobody has a plan. People are like, and they all pretended they were traumatized. And I'm so sorry, let's take a break and all this stuff. And all he was doing was yelling. But when I left, I was like, if it was my kids, I would have stood. Because I've had that where fights break out and I just stand. And I'm like, you be crazy if you want, but be crazy over there. Don't bring it over here. But in retrospect, I was like, I should have stood and walked over because he was directing all that towards the senators. Now, the bill didn't. It's horrible. We have horrible politics here in Colorado. And if someone got punched out, that'd be kind of funny. But still, I should have protected. In my heart, I should have stood and said, to get to them, you got to go through me. So that convicted me a little bit. We can dwell on that, or we can just say, hey, it was practice for next time. I still would have got him. But that physical presence and walking over there might have helped them say, like, hey, we're not all bad guys. Just because I carry a gun and I'm on a security team and I train these people, I would protect you too. I know you're going to vote this thing down. I know this is a big old moot point, but and I've told people this is like, hey, I'm going to protect my kids. Those who would call me enemy, those who are on the left, you know what's going to happen if their kids get protected or they get attacked? I'll protect them too. And they're like, what? Because what they're expecting is, well, I hope your kids get killed. I'm like, no, I love all kids, including yours, even though you hate me. And that's just a better testimony. So, you know, I think that's like, I don't know that was passive, but it's something that in retrospect, it would have been a good message just to go through the motion to let them know, you know, I got you.
Yes, sir. Last question, Glock or SIG?
Glock all day. Glock.
All right, well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Let me tell you why. Because I was a SIG guy through and through in the SEAL teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Glock did an extraordinary thing. Glock is very, very stubborn, and they're doing foolish things with their guns right now. And they're also hard to work with, whatever. But they proved a thing. When they put Glock Perfection on there, then they don't want to change things or whatever. But they did a thing that was so remarkable, an entire industry copied them. So SIG copied the Glock. A lot of the internals, how can we do this? But we can change it, make it, and do all that stuff. But the concept was legit, meaning, in my personal opinion, a firearm shouldn't have a manual safety, a decocker, or a hammer, right? I know staccatos, I get it. But for what the future is, technology says that stuff can be internal now. So there's no two trigger pulls. If you understand single and double action, it's only one trigger pull. You can put very little money into it and make it fantastic, even for your wife that doesn't really shoot. They're incredibly simple and they're very, very good. And they'll be so good, you'll give it to your kids, right? So I'm always looking out for my people's price point too. You know, I want them to be able to afford something to defend their family and be fast and accurate. But yeah, another awesome question.
Have you ever, have you heard of the Burnus?
Yeah.
I got one of those after actually that happened with the lady and everything. I was like, I have nothing, you know, I'm just going in there fists. And I was like, so, because I'm 17, I can't carry a pistol, even in Texas. So, but, yeah, I got one of those. That thing's fun. I love shooting that.
Yeah. And that's it. Don't ever say that again. You know, I got nothing, man. You got Noah.
Yes,
like grit your teeth, get in there and get after it. And I tell people, once they pick up a gun, I said, what are the two things you need to be a gunfighter? I go, the first one's a gun. The second one's a fighter. So if you're a fighter and you add a pair of scissors, that's dangerous. Even if you don't, just a fighter's dangerous. But a fighter with scissors is more capable, right? Fighter with a pistol is more capable. A fighter with a rifle is way, way, way more capable, right? And I love the fact that you had nothing and still went. That says more about you than some of these dudes in church security that got 25 guns. And if you don't believe them, just ask them. You know, they're like, I got this, and this. I'm like, I don't think you'd go. Just something about me and your credibility says, I don't think you'd step up. And that's unfortunate, right? And then you meet a 17-year-old kid's like, I don't need a gun. Well, I'm more capable than the lady getting beat on, so here I go. So you got my respect, brother. So yeah.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
That's all I have. Thank you for all of this. This was awesome.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again for another episode. Please be sure to follow us and support us on all of the social media. That's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. All of that starts by visiting ableshepherd.com.